Okay, let's jump right in. The big phrase for today's deep dive is democratizing the MLS.
Which I know sounds incredibly dense.
It does. It sounds like the title of some academic white paper you'd, immediately try to avoid reading.
Exactly. But what we're actually unpacking here is maybe the biggest, most necessary shift happening in how homes are bought and sold.
And rented, too. It's a huge change, driven by tech, consumer frustration, and, let's be honest, some recent legal earthquakes.
It really is more than just a tech trend. Based on the sources we've looked at, democratizing the MLS means taking all the core benefits of the system, the structured data, the cooperation, the visibility.
The good stuff.
Right, all the good stuff.
Yep.
And building a new MLS-like system that's available to everyone, not just licensed agents.
So it's about shifting from a system that requires the right badge to one that serves anyone with a real stake.
Precisely. Whether you're the owner, a renter, an investor, or the agent who represents them.
Okay, so let's get into it. Our mission here is to look at sources that argue the established system, which goes all the way back to 1908, is, well, it's structurally failing.
And it needs a complete rebuild, one that actually prioritizes consumers and transparency.
So we're going to examine the why. We're talking deep market fragmentation, a lead generation model that kind of eats its own, and a rigidity that just ignores how people actually live today.
And if we start with those structural problems, fragmentation is, it's the crippling reality. People hear the MLS and they think it's one big system.
One national database or something.
Yeah, but that's not the case at all. The sources show that as of mid-2025, there are just over 500 separate MLS systems across the U.S.
500? That sounds less like an efficient marketplace and more like 500 little fiefdoms.
That's the perfect way to put it. It creates this massive, expensive patchwork. Think about it. 500 different rule books, 500 different ways to enter data, 500 different tech stacks.
It sounds like a nightmare for modernization.
It is. It makes it incredibly hard for the pros, and it ends up costing consumers. One source described trying to integrate new tech as, like, herding cats while each cat is demanding a unique login.
And on top of that organizational chaos, you have the rigidity of the product itself. The system is built for just one type of deal.
Exactly. The MLS was designed for, traditional home sales and long-term rentals. That's it. But that's not the market anymore.
Not at all.
Today, consumer demand is all about flexible living room rentals, short-term stays, corporate housing, investor deals like wholesaler auctions. But since the 500 MLSs aren't built for that, all those transactions get ignored.
Which means the market loses out on what the sources call lost liquidity and lost opportunity.
And this all goes back to the history. It's vital. The industry was formed in 1908 in a world of information scarcity. Control was the name of the game.
The system was built on exclusion.
It was. The sources really connect this history to the industry's role in creating and enforcing discriminatory practices like redlining through its own bylaws. It's a dark history, but it matters because those structural problems don't just disappear.
And even though the National Association of Realtors issued a formal apology in 2020.
It was a quiet one. And the research points out that an apology without aggressive structural change doesn't really fix a century-old system.
And that resistance to change leads us right to the fallout from the big antitrust lawsuits. This is where it gets really interesting because the attempt to create transparency seems to have backfired in a big way.
We're talking about the August 2024 decoupling of commissions. Before this, the system was actually pretty transparent on this one point. A buyer's agent could instantly see in the MLS what compensation the seller was offering.
Simple, automated.
Right, but after the settlement, the MLSs were told to remove that information completely.
Hang on. So a lawsuit designed to increase competition and lower prices. Its biggest practical effect was just to add a bunch of busy work to every deal.
That's pretty much the unintended consequence. It created friction, not a better market. Now, a buyer's agent has to call or text or email the listing agent just to ask a basic question that used to be right there on the screen. It just slowed everything down.
And the data shows it didn't even work. The sources say that commissions have largely stayed the same or increased in many markets, still hovering around that 3% number for the buyer's agent. So why, if it was about competition, why did we just end up with selective transparency?
Because the underlying system, those 500 fragmented MLSs, is still built for the old way of doing things. Instead of letting sellers easily offer different pricing or letting buyers easily compare those offers, the industry just hid the data. They chose friction over real transparency.
Which brings us to what the sources call the $1 million question.
Right. If buyers are now supposed to negotiate and pay for their own agent's commission, shouldn't they be able to search for homes where the seller is willing to help cover that cost?
That seems like a total no-brainer. If I have to pay my agent, let me search for a house that helps me pay my agent.
Exactly. Now, critics bring up a valid point about potential abuse, agents steering clients to higher paying listings.
Sure.
But the research pushes back on that, saying that the potential for abuse isn't a reason to eliminate transparency. It's a reason to build better systems, enforce ethics, and most importantly, educate consumers so they can make their own informed choices.
Okay, let's switch gears to the part of this that I think is the most galling. The paradox of the lead economy. What happens to the data once an agent puts it in the MLS?
This is the circular extraction model. And it's pretty wild. Step 1, an agent pays fees to their MLS.
Okay.
Step 2, they upload their listings. That's their inventory, their intellectual property. Step 3, the MLS licenses all that data out to the giant consumer portals, the ones.
Zillow, Realtor.com.
And step 4, those portals use the agent's own listings as bait to attract you, the consumer. Then comes step 5. They monetize your attention by selling ads. Think Zillow's premier agent.
So let me get this straight. The agent provides the product, pays to the platform, and then their own product is used to sell leads back to other agents, forcing them to pay again just to compete.
That is the engine. And it leads to what the sources call the collective action trap. Agents complain about it constantly. Reddit is full of it, but they feel like they have to participate.
Because sellers expect their home to be on Zillow.
Exactly. And because the MLS has never built strong consumer-facing websites themselves, agents have no choice but to send their data outward, feeding the very machine that's monetizing their work against them.
But there's this really fascinating quiet rebellion going on. The research points to agents using something like Facebook Marketplace. Why on earth would they do that?
It's all about the lead routing. It's that simple. On Facebook Marketplace, when you inquire about a home, that message goes directly to the agent who listed it.
No middleman.
No interception. It's direct consumer exposure. So agents are willing to use a platform with, frankly, terrible search filters just because it gives them a direct line to the consumer.
Wow. That says so much. That direct connection is more valuable than all the fancy search tools.
It really does. And the sources note that because of this, Facebook Marketplace quietly has more residential real estate listings than Zillow and most of the MLS portals. It's peer-to-peer, it doesn't care what type of property it is, and it's a huge signal of what people actually want.
So if the foundation is cracked and the lead system is extractive, what does a modern democratized system actually look like? What are the principles for rebuilding this thing?
The sources lay out 5 core principles. First is broader participation with verification. So you let everyone in, homeowners, builders, landlords, agents, but you have to strictly verify who they are and that they actually own the property. Trust is key.
And the second one tackles that rigidity problem we talked about.
It does. It's a property agnostic architecture. The system has to support everything. Room rentals, short-term stays, wholesale deals, auctions, you name it. It should reflect how people actually use property, not just some old legacy categories.
Okay, and the next few focus more on fairness and the tech itself.
Right. Third is transparent lead routing. This is critical. Whoever creates the listing, whether it's an agent or a consumer, shouldn't be put at a disadvantage. No lead interception. Fourth is building a consumer design system. Search has to be more than just filter boxes. It should be AI native and intent driven.
And the last one is a big structural change for the professionals.
It's true professional choice. Democratization means membership in an association or an MLS becomes optional, not mandatory. The idea is to separate the tool, the listing platform, from the trade organization. Let agents choose what they want to pay for.
Now, all of this hinges on fixing a really old, fundamental problem in real estate. The whole idea of caveat emptor, buyer beware.
It is the core issue of trust. I love this one analogy from the sources. The certified used car. You can look up a VIN and see the car's entire history, accidents, service, everything.
The Carfax report. Yeah.
Right. You spend more time checking the history of a used car than you get to review disclosures on $1 million home. It's absurd. The system has always prioritized the speed of the deal over the certainty of the facts.
So the proposed solution to flip that is this concept of hōmhub certified homes. How does that work in practice?
The goal is to shift the burden of discovery from the buyer to the seller. It's about verification over marketing. To get a home certified, the owner first has to verify their identity and ownership. Then, crucially, they have to upload 4 key documents before the listing even goes live.
What are they?
A pre-listing home inspection, a seller's disclosure notice, a property survey, and a recent appraisal or valuation report.
So certification doesn't mean the house is perfect. It just means the house is a known quantity.
That's it exactly. It means the issues are known, they're documented, and they're priced in before anyone even makes an offer. It gives buyers huge confidence, and it actually gives sellers more leverage because they've removed all the uncertainty up front.
So what does this mean for the professional agent? The sources have a fantastic line about what's really changing for realtors.
It's so sharp. The observation is, realtors did not lose intelligence, they lost exclusivity.
Oof, that's powerful.
The internet took away their role as the gatekeeper of listings, and now AI tools like ChatGPT are taking away their role as the gatekeeper of context and documents. Consumers have confidence now.
So the agent's role has to shift from being the director to being more of an advisor.
A facilitator and emotional support system through what is still a really complex human process.
This might sound terrifying for agents, but the solution here isn't to eliminate them. It's about optionality.
The data is so clear on this. Somewhere between 85 and 90% of people still use an agent. So the solution isn't to get rid of them. It's to offer a real spectrum of choice. DIY, do it yourself for someone who's super informed. DWH, do with help for people who need some guidance. And DFY, done for you, which is full professional representation.
And this idea that you can't serve both the consumer and the professional, it's just outdated.
Totally. Look at Uber, Airbnb, Amazon. They all succeed by balancing the needs of the provider and the user. The sources argue that the industry has to stop fighting consumer empowerment, that resistance is just fear wearing a badge.
So to wrap this deep dive up, the central tension is pretty clear. You have the old system, which relies on fragmentation and monetizing agents' leads against them.
And then you have this new vision, which is all about transparency, real choice, and putting the person who actually creates the inventory, the agent or the owner, in the most powerful position. Yep. And the philosophy behind it, citing Buckminster Fuller, is that you don't change things by fighting the old reality. You build a new model that just makes the old one obsolete. And this moment with the lawsuits and AI, it's a genuine reckoning for organized real estate.
And here's the final provocative thought we want to leave you with. The sources argue that technology was always supposed to save us both time and money. Now, platforms like Zillow definitely save you a ton of time searching for a home. But if, at the end of it all, commissions have stayed the same or even gone up, did the technology really transcend the old system? Or did it just make an old, expensive model more convenient?
Think about it.
Think about the other industries in your life, like Netflix or Amazon, that actually delivered on saving you both time and money. And then ask yourself, what has fundamentally blocked that from happening with the single most important purchase you'll ever make?
hōmhub!